Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Saturday. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me this week on the couch, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here. Oh my god, there's somebody who's broken in and is sitting on the couch.
Who are you talking about?
I don't know, there is a stranger. Just sitting there. Like he owns the place.
Hello, Ciaran Marchant.
Hi, how you going, Ash? I know you've been putting your feet on my side of the couch, but fucking get over it, okay? Just, put the recliner up. I'm back, okay? I've got my spot.
Jeez.
For those that started listening to Explosion Network
Like
in
somewhere
the last 2
randomly
months,
in the last 2 months.
From episode 21 on.
Where have you been, Ciaran? Do you want to...
I took a month to myself to kind of, realign, like fix some of my personal problemos, because people may know who's previously listened. I have plenty. I took some time for myself to kind of reinvigorate my passion for gaming, or my passion to be a fan for gaming. Chilled out, sorted myself out. Now I'm back on the couch. I'm glad to see that Ashley kept the decorum up of the podcast. He's just, and Dylan's an evil overlord. That's all I can say. Yep.
I like how you're like, I took time off so I could realign and become a fan of gaming again. Whereas I pretty much come in here every week and go, gamers suck. Video games are
What have
trash.
they
These
done
all
this
suck.
week?
Do I like games? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so, but the fans really turned me off it.
Love-hate relationship.
I won't let that wash over me now. Just let it, sink into your skin.
You enjoy that. All right. Today on the show, we have Minecraft Go, kind of. George R.R. Martin working on a video game, and a new Zelda-inspired game has been announced that looks really cool. And we're going to delve into what the hell is up with Sony and Microsoft's relationship. They've suddenly jumped into bed together. It's a bit weird. What's happening there? But first, the Ouya. It's like a Johnny Bravo type thing, isn't it?
Why did it fail?
The Ouya. In case anyone still remembers that is an object that existed, the store is finally coming to a close sometime soon. And for the 6 people out there that use the thing still, I guess that's potentially a problem. I like one particular part in this Polygon piece that covered the announcement of it. It says, online services for Razer's Ouya and Forge TV services will shut down at the end of June. The shutdown brings to an end an ambiguous, turbulent, and mostly unsuccessful travails of the crowd-funded console for Android video games. And it continues. It's like, owners of Forge TV and Mad Cat's Mojo micro console, which could play Ouya games and access its storefront, may still connect to Google Play Store and other platforms still in use. After Ouya and Forge TV services are discontinued, it will be up to developers to shift their games to that or another service to ensure they're still available and supported on the old hardware. And then later in the article, it says that if you want to know if your game that you have purchased on the Ouya storefront will still be playable once the storefront shuts down, to contact the developer. So I just imagine like there's a couple people out there that use this thing who are now just trying to contact every developer of every game they've ever purchased on the Ouya and find out if their $500 worth of games library they've somehow brought is actually going to be playable on the thing. But what a shitstorm. And it's quite hilarious. I remember when this thing was sitting out front of E3s like 5-6 years ago, and they were doing the first demos and whatever else outside of E3 doors and these sorts of things, and everyone was like, oh, here it is. And now it's funny to look at it and go, yeah, well, that's how it went. But, we have the Stadia coming, which to me is like very similar to the it fits into the same category in my mind. But yeah, what's everyone think about the Ouya shutting down?
Not a surprise.
I'd forgotten about it, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd not even thought about it until you mentioned it just 30 seconds ago. It was not part of my world until just then, and now it's gone. And I feel like I've lost something in my life, truly.
What a crazy story. So Ouya, just in general.
It is.
So it was announced July 3rd, 2012. Got kickstarted the July 10th, I think it was.
Hugely successful Kickstarter.
Hugely successful, raised $8.5 million.
$1 trillion.
No, just million.
Trillion? Not
Okay.
trillion?
Not trillion.
No. Well, at least
But,
they haven't
yeah.
lost money on it, right? Like, they haven't lost...
Oh, yeah, they lost so much money.
Damn it, Ashley. I was going for the silver lining, but I guess there is
No, yeah. I don't know how... I didn't realize they sold it to Razer at some point, which is crazy, and I don't know why Razer kept it around for so long. But
Well, Razer would have just
They
slapped
keep trying
on.
to get into games.
Yeah,
Like they
but-
even had that game something. I don't remember that. Like the Nvidia Shield version of Razer something or other. But
I feel
I
like-
remember that, like the streaming tiny console laptop thing
But
they
I
had.
think
But
Razer seems like a company to me that, they seem to throw crappy ideas at a wall and see what sticks, because they have the consoles. They, like, Razer mobile phones keep popping up. Like, they just seem to just kind of try something, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, they don't really care, because they can just keep selling people like me keyboards with lights and crap, and then be like, hey, here's the same...
look, it's a rainbow.
Here's the same mouse that you bought last year, but we've slapped 3 more buzzwords on the end of it, and now it's a new one. Like
And three
Ultra,
more
A
lights.
new number.
like a Kraken
What?
Ultra Mega Tournament Edition. And I'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I want to feel like I'm playing in tournaments all the time. Let me get it. And then,
And the mouse pad.
and the mouse pad. And then they're like, oh yeah, but there's also the wireless version of it. And I'm like, man, buy me the wireless. Yeah, it's a whole...
Side
And a
note, I was
keyboard
reading-
stand to put my keyless keyboard, my wireless keyboard on.
Side note about all this is when I was like looking into PC parts and stuff last week, because behind the curtain, I have a new PC on the way because my current one's dying. But when I was looking into all that stuff, and I was just happenstance, as I'm looking around, I'm looking at keyboards and mice and whatever, what else is happening, and I start like just looking at random reviews for ones because I'm like, there's no way this is good, because I keep looking at the wireless like keyboards and the combos and these sorts of things. And yeah, I don't care. It's one of those things where you could tell me it works great, Dylan. I have no delay. It's fine.
I have
But
no
it's just one of those things where in my mind I'm like, there is no way that is as good without a wire. I'm
It's
like,
as good. It's as good.
I struggle.
And I use it for first-person shooters. Like, that would be one of the things that you could tell if there was a bad delay on them.
Yeah,
And I don't feel anything with it. Like, there's no difference in it. I love
It's
my
just one of those things
wireless
where I'm like, I
mouse.
don't trust technology.
I don't trust technology.
It's like I don't know. It's like what driverless cars, I'm like, I don't trust that shit either, and I don't trust a wireless mouse. same thing. R.I.P. Ouya. Minecraft Earth has been announced this past week. It is a new Go-like game that's coming from Mojang and Microsoft. It is not a Minecraft skin for Google Earth, although it kind of sounds like it. And when I read the title, I first thought it might have been something to do with Google Earth. It is not. It is a game. So IGN has wrote up a story. It says, revealed on the official Minecraft website, Minecraft Earth allows players to collect, explore, collaborate, and survive while exploring and building new Minecraft creations in the real world. Like in the original Minecraft, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, Minecraft Earth features old and new mobs, and over time players will discover new variants that you can use to populate their builds. For example, you can find Minecraft pigs just hanging out in your neighborhood park. Players can also explore the neighborhood to find blocks, then use any flight service to build on. Using build plates, players can team up with friends to create and place them in the real world to explore at life size and leave for others to see. Players can craft new items, breed mobs, grow crops, and more. However, players will also encounter hostile mobs out in Minecraft Earth that they'll have to fight off. It's unclear at this time exactly how Microsoft intends to moderate content put out into the AR world, because of course people will build giant penises on people's front lawns.
I'm glad you beat me to it. Because that's like, just sounds like you're going to open up Minecraft and there's going to be dicks everywhere. Just like massive
No,
dicks.
That was
Yep.
the worst I thought of. I thought people would put up like signs.
Like swash stickers.
Pedophile
like,
lives here.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just as bad. The thing I want to see with it is like people standing in a random spot, tapping their phone, like violently trying to chop wood with their fists because they've only just started. That would be quite amusing because
That'd be fun.
everybody likes to punch some wood, get some wood blocks.
I will say though, I like the general premise and watching the trailer, which like doesn't show you full on gameplay, but is so to set the tone, I guess, for it. I'm like, this doesn't look half bad, and it's so funny because like if you'd asked me a week ago, oh, what do you reckon the next like Go game to come out would be, kind of thing, I would have been like, I don't know, like I would have been trying to think of some other big property like Ghostbusters or Jurassic Park or I would have been like, I don't know, Star Wars, fuck, I don't know, something like that. But Minecraft, I don't think would have come to my mind, let alone Minecraft that is Mojang plus Microsoft. It's not, they didn't hand it off to Niantic, who does the Pokemon games, or one of those other companies that had already done like the Garfield, Jurassic Park, or one of those games who tried to make them. They're doing it all in-house, which I find quite interesting. And I honestly think, because me and Ash have talked about, and we tried out the Harry Potter one when it released in beta a couple of weeks ago, which, by the way, I've barely touched since. I've just been back onto
same.
Pokemon. But I think that this one has the potential to do the best out of all these. Like, if I had to rank them, I could definitely see like Pokemon and Minecraft doing the best, because it's very easy for me to sit here and go Minecraft, whatever. But when Minecraft released, I was a teenager or whatever, and it kind of skipped the whole interest for me. But I'm very well aware that to a whole heap of kids, Minecraft is what they would consider their childhood at this stage. There's teenagers now who are like, Minecraft, yeah, I was like 10 when it came out, and like, was building stuff.
Minecraft
and
was their Pokemon.
I guess, yeah, to an extent is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like, they have cons for Minecraft. Like, I definitely feel like Minecraft, you can't understate how big it actually is to a lot of people. So I could see this doing quite well.
Well, I think
yeah.
With how poor, Microsoft has been doing for some time now, there's Minecraft is kind of one of the legs that is propping up Microsoft's gaming. Like, they could slap Minecraft on any number of products to sell or games to use, and they'll make money off it. Like, it's just one of those names now that people will buy and people will consume the content. I go back to Minecraft every couple of months or every once or twice a year to randomly play a mod pack for like a couple hours.
Well, it just had a brand new update, so I saw people streaming on Twitch again. So it picked up numbers on there when a new update drops. So it's like definitely one of those things where people may jump off it, but then something new comes out and everyone's like, oh, I'm at least checking this out for next week or night or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't think I'd like to know the stuff about like how they're going to deal with like enemy mobs in the real world, but because I think that's one of the nice things about Pokemon Go is that it's almost a very relaxing and very just kind of straightforward thing. Like, you're not having to worry about anything. You're just looking out for Pokemon, catching them, battling on gyms and stuff, but that's by your own choice. You'd hate to be, out in the middle of a busy place grabbing a block and then a skeleton comes and attacks you. That'd be scary.
I'm wondering if, because like I've barely touched Minecraft, but for the most part, you're pretty safe during the day. That's the whole thing, isn't it?
You're safe during the day. It's night times that you're not safe.
So then I'm like, maybe in the game, daytime is, you may come across a couple enemies type thing, but mostly you'll just be building and stuff. And then come nighttime is when the creepers and zombies and whatever else, Slendermans and whatever.
The only other thing is that I feel that Minecraft Go would kind of close off one of the things that makes Minecraft so enjoyable, which is mining and actually opening up caverns and like traversing different places underground. And I don't think it's going to have that if it's all a Go, like if it's all above ground and everything, unless they're going to turn different areas into caverns and stuff.
I would guess they would. I wouldn't surprise me if there's certain areas. We'll have to wait for more information, of course, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's like a certain area where it's like, this is a giant place that you can go to, and then maybe you have to actually, as was jokingly saying before, but like actually tap on the screen a heap of times to collect blocks and stuff. But I feel like that'd be dumb to not carry over some element or like the Minecrafty elements and stuff. Ash, what do you what do you think of all this? Would you check this one out as well when it drops
I mean,
later in the
yeah,
year?
it's free, so I might as well check it out.
It's free. I'm in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the monetization, I guess, element of it. How they
99
just
cents for 10
buildings.
blocks.
yeah, and having a quick look, if you sign up now for the beta or whatever, you get a free skin. So they've clearly got. They're going to have the characters involved in some way.
Minecraft has always had skins on your characters. It's free to do. You just copy and paste a JPEG into a file, and it
Yeah,
adds
but
it
that
for
means
you,
there's a
but-
character for you to have a skin for.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's true. Actually,
I guess
so,
there's one way to monetize it.
Mm.
Just-
Well, yeah, that's a good way to monetize it too, because it means like if there's a creation out in the world or whatever, and you've built it, and someone clicks on it, and it shows you a little avatar next to it of like,
Yeah.
this is the person that built it. So then you want to look.
You know who's
cool.
responsible
who
for that
built
sign.
this dick on my garden? You
Yeah,
know?
who
Like,
put this penis on my lawn?
yeah, exactly.
Let's be fair. The people who are asking that are probably not people playing Minecraft Earth,
No.
so they're probably not going to know.
Probably
Well,
not. Yeah.
you never know.
The grandkid comes along.
I'm really intrigued by this one, to be honest, because I think the thing with like the Harry Potter one and the Jurassic Park and all these other ones that have come out, they've all just tried to copy the Pokemon one a lot, and they haven't really done anything particularly new. The Harry Potter one does a couple things new-ish, but it's still very much the same formula. But I think with the Minecraft one, at least, because they're going to have this building and creation aspect of it, that could be a lot different to the Pokemon formula and a lot different route, and offer up something new and interesting for these types of games, because I definitely do feel like there's a market for several of these to be working in tandem, because obviously not everyone's into Pokemon or whatever. So and I think they're good. Obviously, if there's a bunch of kids out there who love Minecraft and they don't care for Pokemon, but if this comes out and gets a bunch of kids that like Pokemon gets a bunch of kids out wanting to get outside. That's why I kind of enjoy whenever community days are on and I happen to get out for them and I'm walking around. I see a heap of kids out and about who obviously drag their mum out. Like, let's go. We're going to do Pokemon Day. I'm like, well, they want to go outside. They want to play things. So if Minecraft does the same effect, I can't really complain too much about it. So we'll see. All right. So next story is a little bit of a interesting one. And it gets me a little bit excited. We got a new Man of Medan. I don't know if is it Medan or Medan. I've never actually thought to ask, I guess. New Man of Medan trailer out, sets the mood for the Supermassive Games' upcoming first entry into the horror anthology they are calling The Dark Pictures. The big announcement, though, is, of course, the release date, which is August 30th, so not too far away. The trailer also came with news that there will be a curator's cut mode, DLC, whatever you want to call it, which will allow you to play through scenes again of your picking with different characters, so you can then see different outcomes of what would happen in those scenes with different characters and stuff without having to replay the whole game and try and make sure that character lives to that moment. You can kind of just drag and drop characters into certain scenes and stuff, which seems easier for A, trophies, and B, just fucking around and having a bit of fun with characters and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought obviously this has been exciting for quite some time because it's their next spiritual successor to Until Dawn, I guess, somewhat like their first return to a game like Until Dawn since Until Dawn. All the of one Supermassive games Supermassive have released since then haven't been a horror type thing like that, and also this is the first one they've released that's going to be multi-platform instead of just a PlayStation exclusive. So exciting. The trailer sets up the whole, of course, the alternate branching paths. It's just this camera kind of going through the ship, setting the mood, and then being like left, right. They turn left. It's like scared, not scared. Like open the chest, don't open the chest. Like it's just doing that whole sort of stuff. So I'm super excited. August 30th, I think is interesting.
It's an interesting day because it's like
I'm always just like, why can't you just release these things October? Just release them when it's the scary month. Just put them out.
Which is like, okay, are you as a developer, are you worried that your game is going to get lost amongst everything else? Like, is it going to get
games?
Yeah, is it going to get, like Tomb Raider, like, as it did when it came out at the same time as Fallout 4? Or are you, are you just trying to cash in early so you get people buying your games because you've got that post-July, early August lull of just kind of nothing really, and then August 30th. Hey, this new game's come out by Supermassive. Sweet, I'll pick it up. I've got nothing else to do. Like, I've got nothing better to do right now. I'll just grab the game.
Which is what I reckon it is, but I'm always just like, in my mind, because it's a genre game, the audience that is going to be interested in it, is going to be interested in it no matter what. You know, I don't see you being like, oh, I can get this or Doom or something like Assassin's Creed or something else. I'm like, if you're going to get this, you're probably going to get this no matter what, even if you play something else before it or whatever else. It's not like picking between other huge AAA games. It's just like, it's a horror thing. You either want to play it or you don't want to have to play it. And I presume there'll be a lot of people, because Until Dawn came out, and obviously it was this whole thing where Sony didn't particularly market it quite well. Like they thought it was going to do worse than what it actually did. And then it picked up steam for the following months and then even the following years, to the point where people were ages after release all of a sudden doing all the Let's Plays and the group Let's Plays and the group Let's Play streams and what have you. So I think straight out the gate when this is releasing, it's going to have a lot of people streaming it either solo or as groups and these sorts of things, making choices together. So I think it's going to do quite well. And I suppose August, there's not much happening then. So yeah, I highly doubt Ash is picking this up. Do you have interest in this one, Ciaran?
Yeah, I really loved Until Dawn. Until Dawn was a very good game for me. I played it in one sitting. Like, I finished that whole game in one sitting for my, the fun playthrough, the blind playthrough, and then I platinumed that game as well. I think it.
You've got a platinum. I don't.
Yeah, I got the platinum for Until Dawn. Yeah. Because I really enjoyed it. And I was like, because I did the first run, I managed to not get anybody killed. And so that meant the second run, all I had to do was kill everybody. Like, just get everybody killed as quick, which is nice. I like the idea. Like, as soon as you mentioned the creator mode, I knew you would be like, your brain would go, that's easy for trophy hunting. I don't have to do the whole...
Potentially easier for trophy
hunting because I don't have to play through the whole game to get this trophy at this point anymore. I can just jump there and do it.
Unless it specifically says without the user's credit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless they screw Dylan over, and then Dylan will be mad.
Well,
I know it, and we'll laugh at him. But I like creator mode because I'm a bit of a perfectionist in games. I like playing the best possible outcome in a game. I really enjoy that. And there's something nice about, it's something a little fun for me to go back and see how characters would have died in this situation. But it's not nice enough feeling for me to be like, I'm going to go play through the entire game again just so I can do it. To be able to jump in at different moments and be like, I was really torn at this one moment. Would it have been a better or worse choice if I'd gone the other way? That'd be really interesting for me. So I think that's a really good piece of the puzzle to kind of put in there for the game.
I always find it, because I would have more fun with that. The ability to do that. Trophy thing aside, because I often find just with these games, I only ever played through Until Dawn once, and all the Telltale games once, and my whole reason is always just I have my playthrough. That's what the story is canon in my mind, and I just want to remember the game that way, and I don't want to play it again and get it muddled about what happens and what characters I'd live and die and all these sorts of things. I only played through Until Dawn once, and I'll just always remember having every character alive until the last 10 minutes, and then I killed half of them. One wrong decision in the last 10 minutes of that game killed half the characters.
I've rewatched people play Until Dawn on Twitch and YouTube multiple times because I really enjoy watching them screw up at moments I know they're going to screw up. Like the final scene in Until Dawn, you can kill the most amount of characters in one choice. Yeah, and everybody makes that choice because they don't realize what's going on.
Yeah, I was so pissed off.
And they get all the way through the game with protecting so many people, and then they're just like, oh, only one person got out? I've
been trying so hard, and I had one. I think I just had one or maybe two.
Yeah, because the first choice is they symbolize, you can run out, but they don't tell you that you need to wait for everybody else to get out.
Yeah.
So you just go, okay, I'll run, and then everybody dies, and you're like, oh.
Yep. And there's an explosion, and then the credits roll, and then I was like, all right, well, that's that. The other thing I should mention, I forgot to real quickly, is it is a free update that's going to be coming late 2019. This curator's cut thing, or you can get it first by pre-ordering the game.
Ooh.
So
bonus.
Yeah, it's an interesting pre-order bonus. I don't think it's that big of a deal to get fussed over. It's
early access.
No.
Yeah, it's just an early access to bit of a bonus feature, but everyone's getting it for free eventually. So at worst, you're waiting a couple months. So whatever. I don't really mind too much. A little bit of a pre-order incentive. All right. George R. Martin, the writer of the Song of Fire and Ice novels, the Game of Thrones novels, if you want to put them that way, could be working on a FromSoft game. So this is an interesting story that's kind of picked up steam last week. Story comes from Jewel Shockers. It says, earlier this year, a new rumor stemming from YouTube channel Spawnwave stated that Game of Thrones creator George R. Martin was working in collaboration with Dark Souls and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice developer FromSoftware on a new project of sorts. To many, the rumor seemed too wild to be true, but as of now, it may have just become more likely. And a new blog post from Martin's official website, the famed writer himself confirmed that he has indeed been working on a video game project. Martin touched on this when talking about the work that he has coming up in the future now that Game of Thrones, the TV show, has ended. He also specifically mentioned the region in which the game is from, simply saying, quote, I've consulted on a video game out of Japan. So I guess how do we feel about George R. Martin consulting, helping somewhat on a video game, A, and then B, if it's a FromSoftware game, is that somewhat exciting or whatever have you? Ash, as the
I find it,
Game
he's
of Thrones
just gone
fanboy.
over and said what you need to do in your games are FromSoftware, the creators of Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Kill more of your characters.
Well, I mean,
characters.
I think enough people die.
Plenty of people die in those games.
And then right at the end, don't kill anybody.
No, I hope for me, if George R. Martin's involved, will this take longer than a Hideo Kojima project? Maybe. He likes to take his time with things.
No, he's fine doing anything except writing books.
Kieran's first podcast in about 10 years, and it straight away onto the Hideo Kojima shit talking.
Yeah, because fuck Hideo Kojima. I've missed it. I haven't. It's like a black spot in my heart that just needs to be exercised once in a while, and it's been bottled up for a little.
E3's coming up, so
yep, exactly, and I get to freaking crap on Box Delivery Boy Simulator again. But the other thing, I think if we hadn't had Sekiro, we might be a little bit more curious, a bit more confused about how FromSoft would do a game for him, because the Dark Souls trilogy are, I won't say they don't have a story, they have like a really deep lore, but it's kind of a lore that's like, hey, go find it yourself. It's there if you want to look for it. We're not going to... But I think Sekiro had a good enough storyline and it seemed really well written with its characters that it shows that FromSoft do have a character-driven piece, like, potential within them. So to have that set in Westeros or wherever part of that world that George R. Martin, or if it's something completely different, has to offer, that's super excited, I think. I think that's really cool.
yes. Sure. Ash?
You have feelings, Dylan?
I was about to say, I just kept waiting for you to come back in as the... as soon as we bring up Game of Thrones, I just want you to... It's going to be the best game ever! It's the best!
As much as I'd love it to be a Game of Thrones, I don't think it's going to be anything related to it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really weird for him. I think it might be... Could it be like... He talks a lot about the prequels. Like, he has a lot of stories and ideas from stuff that happened like thousands of years before the Game of Thrones, like the actual Song of Fire and Ice. Like, do you think there's no chance of him going to those kind of periods of time and doing it set there?
There is only one game that will be acceptable to me
which
that they do, and it's set after the finale with Arya.
I don't think that'll be good though.
We'll see.
I reckon it's I could buy into the FromSoftware relationship, and I would say it's potentially just an IP or something that they were working on, and it could, for all we know, it could even be a sequel. It could be Dark Souls, Bloodborne, whatever, like sequel, something like that. And because they have fans of his novels there, and they know they struggle somewhat in world building in a story sense, not like outside of world building in a like lore way, which is kind of hard to separate, but it's kind of what they do well and what they don't do well. Maybe they just, as fans of him, one day sent off an email to his his assistant or something, and asked if he would like to help out, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll help build a story for your world or whatever." So, because he just says he's consulting, so I do think it just comes down to him potentially just working on the story front somewhat, but it wouldn't just be like the story's written by him. It'd be written by other people, and he would have just been consulted for certain things on it, is from what I gather. So, but it's so funny because without spoiling Game of Thrones for those that still have watched it, there is, in like the last episode, there was one part that everyone on Twitter was kind of going off about, because there's this sequence where, and I saw someone on Twitter even put Dark Souls, like the UI over the front of it, because it was a very like Dark Soulsy type moment. So I found it quite funny after that happened in the final episode of Game of Thrones, that this story kind of happened a couple days later, where he wrote this blog post and was like, well, that's funny, like sequence of events to happen. But interesting nonetheless. I would presume maybe we will find out more about this quite soon. Of course, E3 is just around the sweet little corner.
As long as he doesn't be like, okay, here's the ending points for your video game, you guys work out how to get there, and then the writers do a terrible job of getting there. As long as they don't do that. I
don't know why he would do that to anyone, so
I don't know why he would do that at all.
No, that
sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah. A Ni no Kuni / Studio Ghibli / King's Quest / Zelda inspired looking game titled Baldo has been revealed, and it looks fucking fantastic. Although I gotta be honest, I kind of hate the name. My one little shtick on this. So
how do you hate Baldo?
Because it just sounds weird. It's like,
Baldo.
What's the name of your name? It's Baldo.
You won't forget it.
Yeah, no, but I just think of like a bold man, and you're like, it's like a kid trying to hurt the bald man and being like, you know what you are? You're Baldo, and that's what it makes me think of.
That might tie into it.
Maybe that does tie into it.
Does.
Maybe it's a story about him going back in time and preventing future hair loss.
I mean, that'd be an interesting story. So the trailer shows off mostly gameplay and like setting the feel for the game, but it doesn't really give any hint at story or like how you go about doing certain things in the game. But it definitely, to me, gives off the most vibes of that Studio Ghibli / Ni no Kuni vibe type stuff, because the character designs literally look like Ni no Kuni fucking characters in here. You've got cats in witches' hats stirring pots that have faces and all sorts of weird stuff like that happening. Giant monsters that look like they're out of Ni no Kuni, and all these frogs with guitars playing near the end here. The Zelda stuff comes in that looks like there's certain dungeons, or what look like dungeons, where you're having to solve puzzles and do all these sorts of running around and whatever else. It also looks like it might be this thing where the backgrounds are like painted beautifully, and then you have the part you're moving around on is like separate to that. I can't remember the exact name for that, but yeah, Ash, what do you think of this new gameplay reveal today?
It looks okay. It looks like it does look very much like a Ni no Kuni, just the character designs look of that style, but nothing really stood out to me, to be perfectly honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's offensive. Ciaran, do you want to offend me too?
No problem.
No. Where does the King's Quest aspect come from?
The art style reminded me of King's Quest.
The
remake,
okay.
not the old one.
Because I really love the remake. I really love both of them.
Yeah. Remind me of the remake thing.
If it was just the art style or the humor or whatever. I'm interested. I'm piqued. The problem is that so many games, I really hate when games come out and they get the Zelda tag, because it's almost like they're doomed to failure. Because the Zelda tag got very quickly slapped on Darksiders, and so a lot of people didn't touch it and go, nah, it's just a Zelda clone. Nah, that's just a Zelda thing. It's just dungeons, and then you got your overworld, and blah blah blah. And Darksiders is a really good game, but it just has a really small fan base because so many people have had that mindset towards it. I'm interested though. I'm piqued.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting coming out of nowhere. I think it's a French studio as well, which is interesting, and obviously not something you hear much about, a French studio. So excited to learn more about it. The gameplay, there's certain things like animations and stuff like that look a little bit rough at times. So it's definitely looks like it's got a little ways to go yet. So, but I'm thinking maybe they've revealed it because it was an IGN exclusive reveal. So maybe they will be doing like a proper reveal or more information come E3, and they just got out of the head to get people so that when they see Baldo written somewhere at E3 or whatever, they're like, oh, I know what that is. I'll go check that out or follow up on that or what have you. So
Yeah.
I think we'll probably find out more.
And IGN will probably do a first month on it.
Potentially.
Yeah, they normally do.
Okay, so then another really weird, interesting story that's happened is we got the reveal of this handheld console. Weird thing to... Well, I don't know. It's like it is a handheld games console, but to clarify, it's not something that's going to be playing games other than the ones that's going to have pre-subscribe for it.
Let's be honest, it is not a competitor to the Switch or even the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah. So the Verge has this. The Verge has the story about it. It says Panic made its name through high-end Mac software, but more recently, the company moved into gaming, publishing indie hit Firewatch and the upcoming Untitled Goose Game.
Oh,
which
good
I love.
people.
I love reading every single time where it's like Untitled Goose. Just leave it. That's the name for it.
Still,
Don't change it.
still the title, and I'm very happy.
You cannot change it. Now the developer is expanding its work in games and moving in a very unexpected direction. Today, Panic unveiled PlayDate, a tiny yellow Game Boy-like device with a black and white screen, a few chunky buttons, and a hand crank for controlling quirky games developed by indie stars like Kita Takahashi and Zach Gage. The company says that it wanted to create something truly different in the world of video games, and from the looks of PlayDate, it manages to do just that. So they quickly cover the hardware. It says it's incredibly tiny, measuring at 74 by 76 by 9 millimeters with a 2.7-inch display. It looks like a stretched out iPod Nano. The PlayDate features a reflective black and white screen with no backlight. So you do need you do need your flashlight under your covers at night if you want to play this thing. It has two face buttons, a directional pad, and a hand crank that neatly slots into the side of the device. The crank doesn't power the handheld as you might expect. Instead, it's a unique control option. And then it says, as for the screen, Panic says that while it sounds incredibly low fly, it's a bit more high-end than you might imagine. Quote, on the surface, it might be tempting to compare the screen to, say, the Game Boy, but Playdate's display is quite different. It has no grid lines, no blurring. It's extremely sharp and clear, and has a much higher resolution. It sounds odd to say, but it's truly a premium black and white screen.
No.
Other features include Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB-C, and a headphone jack. The handheld runs on a custom OS built by Panic, and it has a battery that recharges with USB-C port. If you're wondering why the hardware looks so slick, it was designed in collaboration with Teenage Engineering, the Swedish company renowned for its beautiful synths, and they came up with the crank idea. It says the hardware will come bundled with what Panic is calling a season of games. That means 12 titles, each designed specifically for the Playdate, which will release over time. When you first power on the device, you'll get access to one game, and a new one will unlock each week after that for the next continuing weeks. So, and the first game that got revealed is called Kraken's Time Travel Adventure, and it's designed by none other than Katamari Damacy's creator, Kita Takahashi. The premise is the game uses the crank exclusively to control the flow of time backwards and forwards. Your goal, get Crankin to his date with Crankette, while avoiding an ever-ending series of ridiculous obstacles that aren't affected by the time control. Will Crankin make it to his rendezvous on time? Spoiler alert, no. So, yeah, this was... I woke up this morning as of recording, and this was the first story I saw pop up in my newsfeed, and I was like, well, that's interesting, to put it lightly. But I'll be honest, I'm buying it. I'm down. I'm 100% down from the outset. I'm pretty much sold on this thing. I think the idea of it, I think they said it's like $150 American or something like that.
Yep.
I think this isn't obviously supposed to be a mass market appeal to quote unquote core gamers or, you know, people who just buy their couple Call of Duties or whatever else. Obviously, this isn't marketed at them. This is a very interesting idea that was basically built to grab a really bunch of so look, Katamari Damacy person. They've got like the Ape Out creator on this thing as well, who's Benny Foddy, and a bunch of people like indie creators who create weird games. And they've said, here's a console that has a crank. What kind of game can you come up for with a game that has a crank? And I just think as a art experiment, I guess is the way to describe it. Like it kind of just seems like an artistic experiment. It seems fun and weird, and I just think it's like they had a weird game jam. You know what I mean? Like just a weird game jam with a crank, and said, what can you do? And I definitely don't think this is obviously meant to be a mass seller or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of people that are just intrigued like myself and will be quite happy to purchase it, because the other thing is they do have a bunch of creators on this with prolific names within certain parts of the industry that will stand out, and the only time you're going to be able to get games that require a fucking crank attached to it to be able to play are on this console. I don't think you can port them and plug in the crank to your DualShock or your mobile phone. So yeah, Ciaran, you're shaking your head a lot. What do you reckon about this?
Sounds terrible. It's 2019. Who ships a console without a backlight?
Oh, it's amazing. I love it.
Did somebody see the GIF that goes around on freaking social media every now and then of the kid playing his Game Boy in the back of the car, like trying to play it under the streetlights go past so we can actually see what the hell's going on? You know what? And it scares me that it has in the press release or in that freaking article, it has the word premium. Because that makes me feel like it's going to have an obscene price tag on it.
I just said it's like 150 American dollars or something. Yeah.
That's obscene.
150 American.
That's obscene. That's going to be like $250 to $300 Australian, Dylan, and you're going to buy it?
That's for 12 games.
For 12 games that are time released.
12 indie games.
Indie games that
would be like $12, $15 each.
That are time gated.
Yes.
That you have to, and there's a decent possibility that even the first game you talked about is not going to give you a week's worth of content for you to play through. Like, it sounds like a terrible idea. I don't understand who would give people money to do this kind of thing. You know what? I get it. The black and white aesthetic sounds cool if it had a backlight. Like, I just don't understand how that's not a thing.
So, I just went onto the actual website to just see if they had anything else in there. I just found, it says down the bottom, it says, so PlayDate will cost USD $149. All 12 games in Season 1 will be included. There's no extra charge. So, I guess in their mind, they will potentially do a Season 2 if it goes well. And
that's really optimistic.
Yeah, and then I guess you'd pay for a second pass of it. I can't argue if anything is the same, because I do think it's obviously quite expensive for what it is and whatever else. 100% right. But it's just such a weird experiment. Here's the thing. I don't compare this to, like Soulja Boy's trying to do a shitty console and all these other things. They're trying to actually make consoles. This isn't someone trying to make a console to be in the market with other handheld consoles. This is its own weird device. So it's just, Ash, what do you reckon?
I think it's definitely going to have a very niche market.
Extremely niche. Extremely niche.
Game collectors, people who have way too much money.
Not me, but
I find it very interesting that you bring this story up the same week that we're talking about the Ouya, because it is probably going to sell less than the Ouya.
Less than the Ouya? The black
after
and
the
white.
Kickstarted ones. So, I mean, in one sense, it's going to be a collector's item because there's not going to be very many of them out there. So, it could be a wise investment.
It's going to be a pain in the ass to get in Australia.
Wait,
Why?
Yeah,
they just have to ship it.
Yeah,
but powered by USB-C.
If the shipping and the conversion rate turn this thing into much more, way more expensive, then I won't get it. There is obviously going to be a line for how much I'd be willing to pay for this. But I just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
How much are you willing to pay for that?
I don't know, like
$300?
No, fuck no. So I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to see, because I don't know if an Australian company will pick up a certain allocation, or Amazon will allocate a certain amount. I don't know. There's these things can happen, you know. So if I have to buy it directly from them and then pay $100 shipping or something, I'm probably out at that point. But even if I don't get one, I will still be highly interested to continually read about these games that are coming out weekly, just because, as I'm saying, I don't look at this as a games console. I'm looking at it as a game jam experiment. And from that perspective, I find it interesting from like a development standpoint, I guess, because they basically just said that they made this thing and went to a bunch of developers and were like, hey, do you want to make something for this? And those people, as the artistic people they were like, yeah, that looks fun. Like Crank, fuck yeah, I'll make a game for that. That seems exciting. It's just an artistic experiment to me. I don't really look at it as a game console at all. It's just, I know in your mind you're like, what's the difference? I guess, but to me, you know, you're saying comparing this to Ouya. I'm like, it's nothing like the Ouya. The Ouya was coming out trying to actually be a game console and sell quote unquote real games that were on other consoles and what have you. This isn't trying to do that. This is a very niche, 100% niche, weird item. It's nothing like the Ouya in my mind.
So Ash, we're going to start a business where we're going to sell Dylan consoles that aren't consoles, but they're art pieces. And we just whack a different attachment on it each time. Like, you know, a whistle, maybe an umbrella, just something random every time. And Dylan will be like, holy crap, it has an umbrella gaming. And Dylan will be in.
I just think it's so weird. I just want to know more. It's so weird.
Listen, Panic, if you want to send us out a play date, Dylan is happy to.
Dylan will take it. Dylan will be.
We'll register crankgamers.com.
.com.au.
Dylan will do a one-man podcast about the device weekly, about each game that comes out. He will also provide a quote for the back of the box.
Here it is now. It's so weird, but I'm excited. You can take that one and stick it on the box.
I think we need to see some more video or like someone actually playing it before we can like give it a proper.
Or somebody just cranking, like not even see the screen, but they're just cranking and see how much fun they're having.
I was just saying, at the very least,
there's got to be some sort of crank simulator game.
There's got to be
intrigued. Right? Just so weird.
A bridge operation simulator where you have to crank the bridge up and down.
The drawbridge.
Yeah, a drawbridge. There's an enemy army coming towards you, and you have to like retract the drawbridge as quick as possible before the army gets there.
Jeez. Maybe that's a game.
Hit us up. We got great ideas.
Miss Andrea has to get out there to light the trench, so you have to wind it back down.
Ciaran, you took the last 10 years off podcasting. What have you been playing while you've been away?
Other than my usual obsessions, I started playing Persona 5. That's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing that I started because it was like...
How many hours in?
15.
What dungeon are you up to?
Like partway through the second palace.
So, barely into it.
Barely scratched the surface. You know, barely been played through the first bit, and I didn't, you know what, even though people have spoken so much about Persona, I'd kind of tuned it out, but it's stressful. It is a stressful experience. I realized that the moment I had to work my way around the train fucking stations in Shibuya, because I had no idea where I was going. I can't read Japanese. I don't know where the train is. I felt like I was going to be late for school. And then you're telling me you're going to give me an game calendar or schedule for me to like try and beat a freaking palace? My God. And then you're also going to tell me that there's activities that they don't warn you before the activities. This activity is going to take you the entire day, and everything you had planned for later that day is gone. Just see you later. I'm really enjoying it though. It's really fun.
What made you start it? Because I talked about on this show, I don't know, I talked about on one of our shows the whole thing about, because originally I said this year, I'm going to go back, I'm going to finish Persona, but then after they announced the golden edition, whatever the hell it's called, the Royale with Cheese edition, That's it. When they announced that, I was like, I'm putting off playing this until that releases because I'll just wait for the new content. But you started it like 2 to 3 weeks after that was announced, so you obviously go $0.
Oh, I just saw it randomly for like $30 for the Ultimate Edition on PSN, and was like, okay, I can't say no to that price. I'll just play it. Screw it. In I went. Like, I bought it at like 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday. I started it at midnight. I went to bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, it was a ride. It was like, I think the thing that pulled me the most was like the anime style cutscenes are freaking amazing. Like, they're really cool. And I'm like, okay, I'm watching anime. This is awesome. And I like the characters. I liked the exploring of the palaces. Like, I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, just hanging out with people, being like, you know, having a weird relationship with Shiho. No, it's not Shiho. The guy that owns the cafe, and being like, wow, you're a bit of a jerk to me, but you're also a good mentor. And just finding time to hang out with everybody, and just it's got some good stuff in it. I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun. It tackles some very very strong like topics throughout it that I was like, holy crap! I thought this was just gonna be a Japanese RPG that you just, you know, with a score sim attached to it. But no, there's like real life, like freaking harassment and like suicide threads going through there. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is ridiculous.
This was your first Persona game.
Yeah, I've never played Persona before.
Okay.
And I know Persona, I do remember now hearing that like Persona 3 was really messed up.
Well, Persona 3, when they do their personas, they shoot themselves in the head with a gun.
Yeah. So... And then I'd always heard people talk about Personas, but nobody had ever just been like, it's Pokemon. And I would have been like,
yeah,
it's kind of like, it's pretty much Pokemon. And I'm like, oh, I understand now. And I get it. I'm getting the hype. I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun.
That's good.
I look forward to seeing you committing another 100, 200 hours to it.
Fuck. Yeah, it'll definitely be that way.
And then never playing it on the Switch.
Yeah. Ash's most proud thing is that game's never coming to the Switch. Okay, so I got a couple things on color. I've started playing Observation. I got a review code for that. I hopefully have a review up by the time this podcast.
Which one's maybe. Observation again?
It's the one that was announced at the State of Play, the first one, where you control the AI within a ship. And you're trying to help this young girl called Emma. Yeah, I think Emma. And you kind of just wake up without getting too heavy into spoilers, obviously, because it's a very story-based game. You wake up in a space station. She's like,
boot up,
yeah, I suppose. You boot up in the space station. Emma reboots you. She's like, where the fuck are we? You're like, I don't know, bro. You just turned me on. Like, but yeah, it's a really interesting game, and I'm loving it so far. I think I'm nearly finished it, so I don't want to go too far to committing to saying it's like one of the best games of the year. But I think so far, as long as it doesn't kind of finish like terribly or go for too long, or you know, something bad happens, I feel like it's probably in my top 10 of the year for sure, at least so far. Like, it's just so different. It's a hybrid puzzle game that's not tedious and annoying, which is a weird thing to say, because like you switch between all these different controls as the AI, and you go to different parts of the ship, different rooms on whatever, and then it's just so highly detailed. It's nearly insane how highly detailed it is, and there's so many different rooms, and then you can switch around 2, 3, 4 different cameras every room, and then you can zoom in with the camera like a lot, which means obviously they've had to make everything you can zoom into somewhat detailed and all this other stuff. And like, they've really had to fully map out and build this entire space station, which I think the space station is actually called the Observation as well. That's kind of like where the title comes from. But then also at certain points you can jump into, as the AI, into like this little floating bowl, and then you basically can move around the ship like a normal first person type game, you know, just left stick, right stick, moving up, down. And that way you can also interact with stuff. But there's certain parts where, like, say if a door's locked on the other side, you can go to the security cameras in that room and then like hack stuff to unlock the door so then you can get into it and all these other things. But what makes it so interesting is because it's really a point and click puzzle game, I guess, where you're doing a lot of menu stuff and clicking through security cameras and what have you. But it never really feels like one. And then the best thing about it that makes it work so well as a puzzle game is there's certain points where a normal game, like I failed several puzzles that were in like high intensity moments. It's like, you need to do this, blah, 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 blah. You need to blah, blah, blah. You're like, shit's going to go haywire if you don't hack this thing fast enough or whatever. And I remember the first time it was happening, I failed. I was like, oh yeah, wait for the reload checkpoint or whatever thing to pop up on the screen. But I failed it, but then the game adapts to you failing and changes. So like there's never a fail state. You can't get stuck really. Like you can somewhat get stuck on puzzles, I guess, like until you solve them, but none of the puzzles are obnoxiously annoying. And I'm someone who doesn't really like obnoxious. Like there's a reason I never played The Witness, because I was like, yeah, nah. I'm not down for that. But all the puzzles in this are that nice difficulty of when you solve them after 5 minutes of thinking or whatever, you're like, oh, I feel smart now. And then the ones that are really in the high intensity moments, you fail them, but the game just changes what happens and adapts and then has Emma save the day or something like this. So that you can never really feel shit about failing. So it's quite interesting. And then everything from the sounds it makes when you switch between cameras to like the little like VCR like flicker and all this sounds, everything it makes when you flick it on and off, and the space sound effects, it just all reminds me a lot of the original like Alien movies, like that period of sci-fi very much. Like that's the vibe it gives off. And the game, it's well worth looking up, even if you, just to get into this game. A, you could watch the trailer, but B, they've posted online, and because I was playing it prior to the embargo was up, when I started it and it does this opening credit sequence like 10, 15 minutes into the game, and the piece of music that plays, which is done by, I think it's done by not like Trent Reznor, but someone else from Nine Inch Nails or something like that. I think, I'm not 100% sure. But the music's like this really fucked up like sci-fi, like epic shit. And it's got this really flashy graphic screens. It's like starring all these people and directed by, like it really makes it seem like it's this massive epic sci-fi adventure you're about to go on. And I nearly was like, oh, I need to save this and upload it and be like, this is so cool. But I was like, oh shit, I can't. Like, so I was so happy when they, the day that embargoes were up for reviews, that Devolver, who was publishing it, just uploaded that onto a YouTube channel somewhere. So you can watch that opening credit sequence now, because it's quite intense and really sets the mood for the adventure about to go on. But yeah, hopefully I'll finish that up soon. Hopefully have a review up by the time this comes out. But yeah, really interesting game. It's by the same person who made Stories Untold, which came out like 2 years ago, I think. And at the time, I had that like 11th or 12th on my top 10 games of the year. And that was a random one I brought on sale on Steam and was like, I'm going to stream this because it looks really interesting. And then by the time I reached the end of it, I was like, what the fuck was this game? Because it was 4 separate stories that you thought were completely unrelated to one another, like puzzle type game things, and then at the end they all tied in a really interesting way, and that really blew my mind at the time. And yeah, same developer and stuff, so really worth checking out. Observation, although every time I go to say it, I go to call it Observer, which is not. That is the Cyberpunk one that was made by the Layer of Fear developers that I haven't played. And then also Gato Roboto. I've played the first hour-ish, I guess, something like that. I got sent for a preview code. This game's also being published by Devolver Digital. I wrote up a preview on the website up until the point that I was allowed to cover it. This was first shown, well, I first saw it either in like the Kind of Funny showcase or in one of the Nindy showcases or something like that. It was definitely in one of those showcases. And it's a Metroidvania that has really beautiful pixel art, black and white, although you can get filters and change it later in the game, where you play as a cat. And, well, the ship crashes, and then the human's like, oh, shit, I'm trapped on this alien planet in the ship. What do I do? And then the cat who's on the ship for reasons is like, meow, and jumps out, and then you run around with the cat for a little bit, and then you eventually find a mech suit, and the cat jumps in the mech suit, and then you're a cat in a mech suit, and you're fighting alien frogs and what have you. And the first boss is a rat that gets into a mech suit. It's weird, but it's also fun, and it's like that Metroidvania thing of running through screens, having to find like ways to secret paths and whatever else, and then clearing sections and kind of having to backtrack at certain points when you get different power-ups and stuff like that to clear other areas. So they still haven't got a release date for that game fully. I think it still says like sometime like spring of 2019 or something like that. So keep your eye on that one. I think it's quite interesting because every year there has to be one Metroidvania game that everyone loves, basically, ever since Shovel Knight first came out. Everyone's like, well, there has to be some like side scroller Metroidvania, like Mega Man type, whatever game that everyone loves, and Gato Roboto could be it. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is I started playing today. I brought the Gardens Between on my phone, which came out last year. And I reviewed it on PS4 and I loved it then. And I brought it on my phone because it was only like $6-7. And I was like, I kind of want to see how well this translates over to my phone screen. And I could quite happily play that game again because although it didn't make my top 10 last year, it would have been like 11th and 12th, kind of like how Stories Untold was. So I was like, I'm quite happy to dive into this again and give it a go. And I'm going to be honest, considering the price point of like $6-7 on your phone versus like $20 or whatever it is RRP on the PlayStation, Xbox, PC, unless you're buying it on sale and getting it cheaper, on your phone may be the way to play it, because as it is, the game is just 2 buttons on your PS4. Like there's one button that makes the time go forward, and there's another button that makes time rewind. And then the Gardens Between is just simply, in case you missed this one last year, Gardens Between is where you're playing as these 2 kids, and they're walking through in this weird thing where it's like all their childhood toys and whatever else and stuff. We saw this one at our first PAX we ever went to. And then all you got to do to solve puzzles is a combination of either rewinding time, moving time forward, and then at times like interacting with objects, which obviously on your phone you just tap the screen to interact with that. But because it's that, all you either do is hold the left side of your screen to rewind, the right side of your screen to move forward. It's so fucking simple. And it looks stunning on my phone, and at least, and I was playing with headphones on and the music's fantastic and everything. So yeah, I think that works very well on your phone, and I would suggest people, if they haven't played that one, iPhone, Android might be the way to go about it for sure. And I brought it again. Actually,
you would. Skyrim.
I think I got a code for the first one. Actually, I can't remember now. So maybe I brought it for the first time.
I remember us getting a code for it.
Well, I brought it for the first time. Then there you go. Covers that one.
Yep. Mobile DLC.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I saw. I was nearly going to put in. I was going to nearly email for a code. I'm like, it's just it's $6 or whatever. I'll just buy it now. Like I'm not done. Fucking skate. So Sony and Microsoft this past week had a weird thing come out where they have announced they are joint in partnership to develop cloud technology for game and content services. The deal caught the internet off guard last week, and it wasn't until more articles started covering the story that myself and I assume many others could get a better idea of what the hell was even going on here. That also happened to include people working on the PlayStation 5, who, according to Bloomberg, who wrote up a report, said staff at the gaming division were caught off guard by the news. Managers had to calm workers and assure them that plans for the company's next generation's console were affected, said the people asking not to be identified discussing the private matters. So the original story, I'll just read in full from Bloomberg because it's only a quick couple of paragraphs, and then they've done a follow-up story, which I'll pick and choose some interesting tidbits from for us to discuss. So the original story was Microsoft Corporation and Sony Corporation, bitter rivals in the game console market, are exploring partnerships in cloud computing and artificial intelligence, including the use of Microsoft's Azure for their respective VA and content streaming services. By working together, the two companies aim to provide more enhanced entertainment experiences for their customers worldwide, including building better platforms for content creators, they said in a statement Thursday. The companies also may collaborate on semiconductors, potentially working on new image sensors that would combine Sony's image sensor technology with Microsoft's AI tool tools in Azure. While the companies have worked together in some parts of their businesses, Sony's PlayStation and Microsoft's Xbox compete fiercely, particularly for the attention of hardcore gamers. At the same time, as both companies face rivals such as Alphabet Inc.'s Google, Apple Inc. and Amazon.com Inc., Sony will want cloud horsepower to run its services. The two companies said they will share additional information in the future. So I think, like, if you want to go like an initial reactions to this type of thing, whatever, and kind of thought, because when the story originally happened and came out and there wasn't like too many follow-up reports, I was just very much on the board of, okay, so we got to be very specific about the words using here. And they were saying Sony and Microsoft are teaming up. And I'm like, okay, Sony and Microsoft are teaming up. That has nothing to do with PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
Which I think is what everyone was assuming.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, but it maybe does, like, which is weird.
The thing for me is I always see Microsoft computers and Microsoft Xbox as almost two separate companies. Like, within
they are
themselves.
to a degree. Like, that's
to a degree.
thing, you know,
like Microsoft computers could not care less about Xbox other than it's attached to it, kind of.
Yeah.
Where and I think where it's smart for them to be like, but Azure, our cloud platform, is really strong. We're still going to sell it to companies just because they've got a competitive, console to the console that's connected to us. We don't really care. They can still pay for us. So Microsoft will have a partnership with Sony. So Sony will pretty much probably be, paying Microsoft to use their Azure system for the purposes of their own use. Like any other company does pay for Azure. It's just the fact that Sony's another company that comes through. It's just a coincidence that they both have consoles. Microsoft Computers doesn't care. They're just like, you'll give us money? Yeah, okay, cool.
What was your initial reaction to all this stuff, Ash?
It's cats and dogs living together. Everything's gone crazy. No, it seems fine. It makes business sense. I mean, if it's something PlayStation needs or Sony needs, then why wouldn't they go out and seek it? And if it's something Microsoft offers, why wouldn't they offer it, I guess? I think they read in the article as well that they've approached Amazon as well, I think, about the same sort of thing. And they had, obviously, they chose Microsoft instead
Amazon
for some reason.
Platform. Yeah. Azure's a really good system, actually. It just costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, Bloomberg's follow-up report, which dives a bit more into and that's what I read the quote from just before, continues later into it. It says, faster internet speeds are starting to allow games to be played remotely without the need for a local machine. That's a threat to PlayStation, which generates a third of Sony's profits. Microsoft's Xbox faces a similar risk, but the software giant has the second largest cloud service, so it has a strategic answer. The other leading cloud providers are Google and Amazon, which are building their own cloud gaming-based services. Realizing that his homegrown cloud service isn't going to cut it, Sony Chief Executive Officer Kenshiro Yoshida is being forced to collaborate rather than confront his old gaming nemesis. So another little interesting tidbit with this whole thing is it says Sony jumped 9.9% on Friday in their stocks, the most in 18 months. The company also announced a record share buyback, but analysts pointed out Yoshida's speed in responding to the shifting video game industry is a positive factor. So I also found it really interesting that after the news dropped, to which dumbheads who just, care about PlayStation, Xbox, like, this is so weird. We're all, like, everyone's kind of sitting there going, what the hell's going on? Whereas people just interested in it from a business perspective were going, that's fucking smart. I'm buying more shares. From a business perspective, the most they've had in 18 months just by announcing a partnership for Microsoft and their cloud services. I think that kind of just shows how big a deal this is to a certain business side that we don't really think about a lot, I guess.
I think it shows growth from Sony's side because I think Sony have realized after the escapade that is the PSN, they suck at infrastructure and they suck at that kind of thing. So if they can if they have a cloud solution that somebody else already has and it's already proven to be good, then they should just use that, like they should just go ahead and use that to support their machines and support their consoles. Like it's a great idea. Like that's a fantastic idea. Old Sony would have gone like, no, we're gonna do it ourselves, and they would have half-assed it, and it would have it would have these problems that the PSN is currently having or still recuperating from.
Talking about the, like you bring up Sony, showing that just shows Sony's growing. It says later, it says the pivot toward Microsoft was preceded by several key personnel changes at Sony, including moving some senior PlayStation Now staff to other divisions. The person said, who they're talking to, John Codera, who rose through the ranks running the network side, was also replaced as PlayStation boss in February, a little more than a year after taking the top job. So, lots of moving figures seem to play a big part in them making this decision, much like how obviously sticking Phil Spencer into Xbox has kind of brought that company back up a lot since it was on the way the hell down for a long while. So it says here, cloud gaming will account for only 2% of the industry's revenue by 2023, according to ISH Market. That's why Sony and Microsoft are moving ahead with their next-gen consoles, which are expected next year. Securing access to Azure gives Yoshida a powerful hedge against the future scenario where cloud gaming does end up making consoles obsolete. I think a lot of questions for this too, because a lot of people will be like, oh, is this a reaction to the Stadia reveal? I don't think it's a reaction to the Stadia reveal. I just think, obviously, these deals take a lot longer, and the Stadia was only revealed a couple months ago. So it's not like they saw that and was like, oh, fuck, what is happening about it? Like, Sony, if anything, Sony was somewhat ahead of the game when they purchased Gaikai, but it just didn't pan out. But they've obviously been somewhat open and willing to talk about and think about the potential for cloud gaming in some sort of fashion, but they were so early on the front, and the technology, I guess that Gaikai technology just hasn't been moved and updated. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's like you buy this whole thing, and then like, what's it done since you brought it way back when? Like, what has that Gaikai technology grown to? It's done nothing. They've used it for PlayStation Now, but it hasn't grown as a technology, really, as a company. I'm like, what is going on over there? So I also think the other interesting thing about this is from the Microsoft / Xbox standpoint, which is the whole, because we talked a lot about in previous episodes, obviously the Xbox and Nintendo relationship and what's going on over there and what's that going to lead to potentially in the future and what have you. And now you've got this Microsoft Sony relationship over here that is potentially going to, as much as people thought it might not at first, affect the next generation of consoles, especially if they're building in cloud-based gaming and service to them, these sorts of things. So then Microsoft is going to be a company that's in bed with both of its quote-unquote competitors. So it's like, are we looking at the next generation of consoles, although they're still going to be somewhat competing against one another, it's going to be the first time where they're competing against one another while also sleeping with one another.
I think the thing is, I think for
it's a weird analogy.
It's a very weird analogy. Just seeing like Phil Spencer just getting around, but I think for a while now,
fucking
Microsoft. For a while now, Microsoft has been open to a lot more collaboration, and I think this was inevitable. It just was waiting on Sony to be like, all right, yeah, let's do stuff. Like, I think Microsoft as a company will be ready, and I think this is only the first step in a lot of little steps to be like, okay, we're building towards a better gaming future for consoles, because it's getting to a point where consoles need to continue to band together and continue to grow and progress, and it's going to be hard for them to do so on their own. They need to help each other to get there.
Mm-hmm. Ash, you got.
And I mean, this could just be like a stopgap. Obviously, they could continue to keep working on developing their own cloud service while using this at the moment. So,
with the amount of money they'll spend on Azure, I doubt it.
Well, it just depends on how the market goes, I guess.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, would you...
If cloud gaming takes off, which it's not going to, they would like to have their own service in the future.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that cloud gaming will be a thing in the future. I don't
Definitely.
think it's going to be a thing in the near future for the majority of people, is how I like to think about it. So I definitely feel like looking into the technology and like safeguarding your consoles and what have you, so it could have this service built into it, is smart. But then that's why, like with the Stadia, I'm just like, no, like I don't think the Stadia is going to do well at all, simply because it's hedging all its bets on being, that's its whole thing, isn't it? It's like, it's a cloud-based console. Like that's what we
It's
do.
just-
That's what it all is.
It's just too soon. Like if I think the
So
Stadia
Ouya too.
is just being released before its time. I think we'll look back at it and we'll be like, you know what? If that had been released 4, 5, 6 years later, it would have been an awesome console. But it's really been released at the wrong time. So no, we can't do this.
If you don't know, one of the major internet providers this week has had their servers down for the last 2 days. So
I've been able to keep up thanks to friend of the show Dash, and
Yeah.
keeping on his tweets. It's
yeah,
enjoyable.
so imagine if you were a Stadia user, you'd be unable to
no games, no
2 days.
games.
No games for 2 days,
No gaming, for
which I guess
2
would be
days.
the least of your problems, but
Yeah.
still unacceptable.
Well, that's everyone's faults for being on Optus, but that's a whole different thing, I mean. All right, that'll do it for this.
But last
week.
question
Yeah.
is Master Chief going to be in PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale 2?
Only if it's a cloud-based. You can only get the game via the cloud.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
It's a cloud exclusive.
That's a cloud
But not
exclusive
With
character.
cloud.
But Cloud's not in it. Yeah.
But Cloud's not in it. Cloud's not there.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the couch this week. Make sure you check out explosionnetwork.com for all the previews and all that sort of stuff I mentioned before, but also all our other shows, reviews, news, articles, and much more. And don't forget, you can rate Arcade Couch on Apple Podcasts to help out the show, or simply share it on social media if you can get access to it. If you're an Optus and you'd like to help out, you're fucked, I guess, is the thing. You can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod, and you can join our Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ash on Twitter at AshleyHobby, ASHLEYHABLEY. You can follow Ciaran on Twitter at Ringo. And we will see you here, same time, same couch, next week. Bye.
Catch up on the latest TV, online media, and movie news from the biggest comic book films and YouTube crazes to our local cinema scene. And then hear what we've been watching before asking the age-old question, what do you want to watch? Available on all podcast services every second Friday. Just search your podcast app for What Do You Want to Watch and subscribe for free now. And keep watching stuff, I guess.
How'd that feel, Ciaran? How'd you...
It felt good. I felt like having a Han Solo moment, being like, Ashley, I'm home. But,
Well, that's good.
but that was good. That was fun. I've missed doing that, actually. It was great. And I also had a moment of, Dylan, what the fuck are you doing with this fucking portable handheld console? What the fuck?